Have you ever wondered what really destroys a trading account? Most traders think it is the market. They think it is bad news, a sudden reversal, a stop hunt, or one unlucky trade. But in most cases, the real damage does not come from the first losing trade. It comes from the trade after the loss. The second trade after a loss is rarely just another trade. Most of the time, it is a reaction, and reactions do not have an edge. The first loss of the day is usually manageable. You entered a setup. You followed your plan. Your stop loss was hit. The predefined risk left your account. It hurts, but it is not supposed to destroy you. A single valid loss is simply the cost of doing business. Every serious trader must accept that. But what happens next is where most sessions fall apart. You take a loss. Your account is down 1 unit. And suddenly, your mind starts looking for a way to get back to break even. The logic sounds reasonable. I only need one good trade to recover. One win, and I'm back to flat. The market is still moving, so maybe the next setup will be the one. But that is exactly where the trap begins. Because now, you are no longer looking at the market from a neutral state. You are looking at it through the emotional pressure of the loss you just took. The next trade is no longer judged only by your system. It is judged by your need to recover. And when recovery becomes the goal, your standards begin to drop. A level that was not quite good enough suddenly looks acceptable. A signal that was not fully confirmed suddenly feels close enough. A setup you would normally skip suddenly becomes worth a try. This is how one controlled loss turns into a damaging session. The first loss is part of the game. The second loss is often the result of trading from a compromised emotional state. That is why the one loss per day rule exists. Not because your strategy cannot produce another good setup later in the day. Not because one loss means the market is impossible to trade. But because after a loss, your decision-making is no longer the same. A loss does something to the brain. It creates stress. It narrows your focus. It increases urgency. It makes you want immediate action. It reduces your ability to judge risk clearly. And trading requires the exact opposite. Good trading requires patience, clear thinking, strict criteria, controlled risk, and the ability to wait without forcing a trade. After a loss, your brain wants relief. It wants to remove the pain of being wrong. It wants to erase the red number on the screen. But the market does not care that you are down. The market does not know your entry price. It does not know your account balance. It does not know that you want to get back to break even. A recovery trade is not really a recovery trade. It is a new trade with its own probability, its own risk, and its own setup quality. But when you frame it as a recovery trade, you contaminate the decision. You stop asking, does this setup truly meet my criteria? And you start asking, can this trade get me back to flat? That shift is dangerous. Because once your goal changes from executing the plan to recovering the loss, your discipline starts to weaken. And if the second trade loses, now you are down 2 units. The pressure doubles. Now you do not need one winning trade to recover. You need two. And that is when the spiral begins. You take a third trade with even softer criteria. You manage it with more anxiety. You hesitate. You move your stop. You enter too early. You hold too long. You start negotiating with the market. At that point, you are no longer trading your system. You are trading your emotional need to be right. This is why one loss must stay one loss. One loss, platform closed. Session over. Not as punishment, as protection. The rule protects you from the version of yourself that appears after a loss. Because the truth is, most traders do not lose control all at once. They lose control slowly. One small exception, one slightly lower quality setup, one rushed entry, one emotional decision, one more trade. And then suddenly, a small planned loss becomes a large, unnecessary drawdown. The one-loss rule prevents that. It removes the possibility of the second emotional trade. It takes the decision out of your hands before your emotional state gets a chance to argue. This is important because willpower is not reliable after a loss. At the beginning of the session, willpower feels strong. You feel calm. You feel disciplined. You believe you will follow the plan. But after a loss, everything changes. The platform is still open. The candles are still moving. The market still looks full of opportunity. And your mind starts building a convincing case for one more trade. That is exactly why you cannot rely on willpower. You need a pre-committed rule. Before the session starts, you decide, if I take one losing trade today, I stop trading. No debate. No exception. No second chance. No emotional negotiation. The loss happens. The rule activates. The platform closes. That is the process. And once the platform is closed, the real work begins. You review the trade honestly. Was the setup valid? Did the entry meet your criteria? Was the stop loss placed correctly? Was the position size correct? Did you follow the plan? If the answer is yes, then the loss was simply part of the process. There is nothing to fix. The market just did not deliver the outcome you wanted. That is normal. A good trade can lose. A valid setup can fail. A strong system can still have losing days. But if the answer is no, then the loss reveals something valuable. Maybe you entered too early. Maybe you forced the trade. Maybe your stop was poorly placed. Maybe you ignored part of your checklist. Maybe you were trading because you wanted action, not because the setup was truly there. That is useful information. But you can only see it clearly when you are no longer trying to take the next trade. When the platform is open, your review often becomes a justification. You are not really analyzing the loss. You are searching for a reason to enter again. But when the platform is closed, the next trade is no longer available. Now you can actually learn. That is the difference. An open platform invites revenge. A closed platform creates reflection. One compounds the loss. The other improves the trader. So, if you are serious about protecting your account, build the rule before your next session. Write it down. One loss per day. After one losing trade, I stop. Then create an enforcement system. If your platform allows daily loss limits, use them. Set your maximum daily loss to match your predefined risk for one trade. If your platform does not have that feature, create a physical routine. After the loss, close the platform completely. Do not minimize it. Do not leave the chart open in the background. Close it. Then step away. Go for a walk. Write your trade review. Take a break from the screen. End the session with intention. This physical separation matters. Because if you stay in front of the chart, the loss flows directly into the next decision. But when you step away, you create a gap. And that gap protects you. Over time, track the difference. Look at the sessions where you followed the one-loss rule. You will usually see one controlled, survivable loss. Then look at the sessions where you broke the rule. You will often see the real damage. Multiple losses, lower quality entries, emotional management, larger drawdowns, and regret. Your own trading journal will show you the truth. The one-loss rule is not about fear. It is about structure. It is about refusing to let one bad moment become a bad day. It is about protecting tomorrow's capital from today's emotional reaction. Because the market will be here tomorrow. There will always be another setup, another session, another opportunity. But if you allow one emotional trading day to damage your account, your confidence, and your discipline, you make tomorrow much harder than it needs to be. Remember this. A single loss does not define you as a trader. But what you do after that loss will define your future. The trader who survives is not the one who takes the most trades. It is the one who knows when to stop. So, the next time your stop loss gets hit and your mind says, just one more trade, recognize that voice for what it is. It is not discipline. It is not opportunity. It is not your edge. It is emotion dressed up as analysis. Do not argue with it. Do not negotiate with it. Do not give it access to your account. One loss. Platform closed. Session over. That is how you protect your capital. That is how you protect your discipline. And that is how you stay in the game long enough to actually become profitable. If this message made you realize that your biggest losses often came after the first losing trade, hit the like button right now. Comment below. One loss is enough. Write it as a commitment to yourself before your next trading session. And if you want more videos about trading psychology, discipline, risk management, and how to protect your account from emotional mistakes, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because in trading, the goal is not to win every day. The goal is to survive long enough, stay disciplined enough, and execute well enough for your edge to work over time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.